the credit for this economic revival without your tax cut yet through, without Obamacare repeal yet. And this is a stunning economic revival in 10 months.
One of the greatest in the history of our country. And I'm in here now 10 months, and we are setting record after record, day after day. I think we hit another one today. No, I'm not getting enough credit for it, because a lot of the reason is enthusiasm level, business level, and also the fact that I've cut regulations to the extent that I've cut them. I mean, I could tell you jobs that were never going to get built are now being built.
President Trump might not be getting enough credit because thanks to this country's economic revival, the American dream is making a big comeback 3 years after a poll found that most of us believed it was out of reach. A brand new poll finds 82% now believe they're either living the dream or on their way to achieving it. Rachel Campos-Duffy is a Fox News contributor. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor. A positive sign there, Rachel?
Absolutely. It's Morning in America. And he's right. He's not getting enough credit for it. It is, we've turned the page on a community organizer president. We've put in a businessman president. And while the resistance was crocheting pink hats, Donald Trump was, basically dismantling the regulatory environment that Barack Obama had put up. I mean, I just want to say that this was right out of the progressive playbook to tell people that the American dream was rigged or unachievable or no longer attainable, because of course, if that's true, you need them. You need big government. And what we're seeing is the American dream is alive. They're saying that Hispanics, by the way, 51% of Hispanics now say they're on their way to achieving the American dream that was only 30% under Barack Obama. This is fantastic news.
I mean, Leslie, to Rachel's point,
families.
a lot of people look at Hillary Clinton's campaign and say she didn't focus on the economy enough. Look at this poll, what it reveals about what Americans think about wealth and the American dream. 11% say it's essential to them. 49% say it's important. So you've got 60% of Americans saying the wealth and the American dream is everything to them.
Yeah, but a couple of things. When you look at all of the Pew Research study that was conducted in the middle of August, I'm kind of wondering what people would say today in light of recent events in the news. But when we look at what the people want, it's not money primarily. That does work for the wealthy when you look at the breakdown of this. And also, if you look at this, almost half of the people say they've already achieved this. And I find it hard to believe. I certainly couldn't, even if I were president, take credit after 10 months for somebody who's already achieved something. That would be something in the process and in the making.
Well,
but yes, it is the economy student, and I did say that Hillary did not touch upon that during her campaign.
I'll let Rachel respond to that.
We've had two quarters of 3% growth. The Atlanta Fed now says we're heading towards 4.5% growth. This is incredible. Think about this. 6 years ago, Bernie Sanders said the American dream was more likely to, you're more likely to achieve it in Venezuela. He's now taken that off his website. Listen, the American dream is back, and it's back in America because we're returning to free enterprise. We're putting America first. We're bringing jobs back from overseas. We're seeing jobs that the Democrats said were gone forever in mining, in logging, in energy, in coal. He has not only with the Republican Congress, by the way, not only revived, and we're seeing a revival of the American economy, but he's doing it without leaving the American worker behind.
And by the way, Leslie, we're having this conversation on a morning where we just got new numbers out from the government showing the unemployment rate in this country dropped to a 17-year low, 4.1%. Wow. More than 200,000 jobs were added on the last month. These are positive developments. It sounds to me you're not giving the president credit, saying he's not been there long enough. But has he at least created, will you admit to this, a positive environment by talking about taxes and tax reform and tax cuts and rolling back some of these regulations that businesses themselves have said have impeded their ability to do business or slowed it down?
The devil is in the details here, Sandra. I mean, the numbers just don't show that there are jobs coming back from overseas in his own company. The Trump company makes a lot of products overseas,
Wisconsin,
and continues to do that. And continues to do that. Sorry, Rachel, if I could finish. With regard to your question, I want to have America be prosperous, regardless of who's president. But tax reform is something both Democrats and Republicans have been talking about a long time. How they do it and the way they go about it, obviously, as we're seeing today, is very different.
Leslie, I think to continue this conversation, before we go back to Rachel, tell me, what is the American dream today? What do you see it as?
Well, that's actually an excellent question, because that's what they talk about in the Pew Research poll, is that different people describe it and define it differently. And that does show across political lines and across racial and ethnic lines as well. For some people, it is money. For some people, it is owning their own home. But for some people, happiness does not have a dollar sign attached to it.
And important to point out also this other study that 70% of the middle class, Rachel, 70% of middle class voters do not believe that the next generation will do as good as they have, moving the American dream out of reach for millions. So, sorry, this was looking back at the last year and how we have completely seen that trend change. So you are giving this president the credit for that.
Listen, it was only a few years ago, Sandra, that my husband would go to a town hall and he would ask that question, will your children do better than you? And no one would raise their hand. And now we're seeing an absolute reversal of that. How can she not give the president and the Republican Congress and, frankly, American entrepreneurial capitalism and free markets credit for that? Because that's what we're doing right now. We are bringing American business back. We're bringing the economy back. It's good for families. And guess what? It's going to help the Republicans in the midterms and possibly in the next re-election for the president.
Leslie, I'll give a last word to you, because it seems like you don't like the way things are going.
Well, I like growth economically. Like I said, I don't care who's president, but I'm not alone in this. I mean, 3 days ago, there was a poll that showed 59% of Americans feel that we're in the worst of times. The president's approval rating dropped down to 33% on Wednesday, went up 4 points and still at a lower than low number than other presidents. So I think it depends on the poll. And as we know, both Democrats and Republicans, presidents and others, use polls to their benefit.
It's Friday.
And mock
Rachel,
them
can
when
you
they
lead
don't
me
like the
off
results.
on an optimistic, positive note here?
The American dream is alive. American companies are coming back to America. It's morning in America. Leslie and I should both be celebrating that.
All right. 82% of Americans say the American dream is within reach. We hope that we feel that as we all go into the weekend. Thank you to you both for being here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.